All right, everyone. Good evening. My name is Wanda Wheatley. I'm the Chair Commissioner for the Town of Cottage City. It is Wednesday, May 11th. The time is 7:02 p.m. And we are ready to call our meeting to order and do our roll call. Ward 1, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Young.
Present. Sorry, I forgot to unmute. Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Amershay is absent. Ward 3, Commissioner Wheatley is present. Ward 2, again, Commissioner Amershay is absent. Ward 4, Commissioner Givens. Commissioner Givens. Commissioner Givens is absent at this time. Was that Commissioner Givens?
Yes, it was.
Okay, we can't hear you.
One moment.
Maybe it's a bad connection. Commissioner Givens?
Commissioner Givens present.
Thank you. Commissioner Uri?
Commissioner Uri is present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. We can go ahead and get started. Next on our agenda are the approval of the minutes and financials for April. Is there any discussion on the work session April minutes?
I had one small thing on the work session, and that was, let me get to that. Well, the part that talks about the retention policy, we should say paper retention or records retention policy, because otherwise it's unclear what it's about. So just add in the word records before retention, records retention policy. I didn't have any other comments. I assume that's what it is referring to, right?
Yes, it's referring to the records. That's correct. I remember that we had tabled approving something last month because there was some corrections. Do those minutes get corrected, and do we need to take a vote on those?
Yeah, those were the March minutes, and I don't think we got those to look at.
We did not get the corrected minutes because we did not vote on them because there were some corrections and some information missing, I believe.
Right.
So we'll have to, I guess, approve them in June, but we do need to have them come before us again with the corrections.
Right.
Are there any other comments or edits regarding the April minutes? I believe this is the work session. Any edits or corrections for the town hall meeting for April? I'm just glancing through them and I noticed that it doesn't say who attended the town hall meeting, or am I missing it? The commission made comments to the work session, motion to approve the financials for March and the budget minutes. Motion to approve.
You're right, I don't see them either, now that you mention that. Although I think in the vote, it may tell.
Yeah, but this is incorrect because we didn't approve the March minutes. Remember, we approved the financials, but we did not approve the minutes. So this needs to be corrected.
Oh, you're right.
Because it says a motion to approve
Well,
financials for March.
It says we will approve these sets of minutes at the next meeting.
Okay, the minutes for March. Motion to approve financial statements and budget meeting minutes for March. Okay, so we
What page is that
still
on?
need the minutes for March. We'll have to do it in June though, because I don't think they're available.
Right, right.
But we also need to say who attended the meeting, what commissioners were present. So that needs to be corrected. Ms. Grosky. Were there any other edits or comments?
No discussion from me.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Yuri. Commissioner Young, did you have any edits for the town meeting? The April town meeting?
No, thank you. No.
Commissioner Givens?
No, Givens, no.
Okay. I have a question under town hall rental for public. It says Commissioner Young abstained from this idea. Commissioners Armitage, Wheatley, Givens, and Yuri said they are in favor of renting the town hall for public use. Carol, do we need to take an official vote for that? Hello? Mr. Best, can you answer that question? I don't think Carol's available.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I think you should, in terms of giving access to the public, it should be recorded because it was under, emergency circumstances in which you decided that the town hall would not be available for public rental. So I think there should be something showing, an official word from the body.
Mr. Best, do you agree?
Was looking at other matters on the agenda. Can you restate the question?
The question is in regards to rental of the town hall. In
Yes,
the minutes, it says that Commissioner Young abstained from the idea. Commissioners Armitage, Wheatley, Givens, and Yuri said they are in favor of renting the town hall out for public use. The question is, do we need to take an official vote? Do we need to make a motion? Do we need to do a resolution to open the town hall, to rent the town hall? That's the question.
no, I don't believe so. You rent the town hall as a proprietary function, not a government function. It's proprietary because you own property. So no, it would not be required to do that. If you're going to put a moratorium, for example, on an ordinance or a regulation that affects human behavior, yes, you have to take a vote, obviously. But no, I would say no.
So we can start renting the town hall out now, because we do have folks calling. I have people calling me asking, can they rent the town hall out for, I have one resident that just called me recently and they want to rent the room for their mother's birthday. And I told them I didn't know what the town had decided because, we said, we thought it
Well-
was time to open,
Well, what makes you think you could not have rented out in the past? The COVID crisis and all the COVID regulations?
Right. And then we made an exception for the church because they had lost their facility.
All right. So what you're talking about is a layer of regulation because you all did not pass an civil emergency ordinance when COVID started or prior to that, you do not use what are called civil emergency powers in Cottage City like many other towns and cities. You rely on the county to prescribe those regulations. And I believe the county has lifted those. So you're free to resume your past policies unfettered. Now, COVID could resume, and certain emergency powers could be re-exercised by the county executive that would impact your ability to rent out the town hall. But since they've substantially lifted, they being the county executive, you don't have that layer of encumbrance anymore. So you can just resume your regular rental policies without having to do any type of legislative activity, unless you had some sort of resolution or decision in the past, a legislative decision saying you're not going to reopen it until a majority confers and finds some sort of finding of fact or conclusion of law before they go forward. So long story short, no, you don't need to vote. Just go ahead and resume what you can do under the county's civil emergency powers.
Okay, with that same train of thought, how about us meeting in person for our town meetings? Do we have to take a vote? Because we also discussed doing a hybrid.
Again, you all chose to go virtual, consistent with the practices of numerous other local governments and municipalities, in accordance with the civil emergencies powers of the county that precluded certain type of assembly and social distancing, things like that. So that's just something you all did as a matter not only of convenience amongst yourself, but comporting with the regulations put out by the county executive under COVID emergency. Now that, for example, the county's civil emergencies orders have lifted constraints from getting together in person, you can just go ahead and do that. Again, you don't have any emergency orders or legislation that precluded you from meeting together. So, what I would recommend, since you are a collegial body and you make decisions as a group, that you probably should entertain a motion to get back together and meet in person, or to meet in a hybrid situation, whatever is your druthers, because there may be a desire to put certain limitations otherwise on the meetings so that you don't endanger anyone, and if that's your opinion. So I would recommend that you make a decision as a legislative body on what you want to do, dealing with the way this custom and practice you've had of meeting virtually. I yield.
Thank you. All righty. So there's no more edits or comments. Are there any questions, edits, or comments in regards to the financial report for April? Any questions for our treasurer?
Yes, just briefly, on the first page, I see 2 deleted accounts.
Yeah, so those are old accounts that were in practice. So what we're doing is we're comparing the balances as of April 30th, 22, to the
Okay.
balances as of April 30th, 21. Those deleted accounts were in place in 21. So since we turned them off as an internal control, they reflect as deleted, but they're no longer active.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Yuri. I had asked the same question when I originally saw that those accounts were deleted. And I got the same answer that he gave you. So I think it's just to reflect, but as he said, that those accounts have been closed. Any other questions for our treasurer? I do have a question in regards to the code officers, salary expense. It's, line item 4086. I, happened to attend Comar Manor's, budget meeting. And for them, they budget the full amount of Mr. Redding's salary. But should we be budgeting the full amount?
So yeah, we are budgeting the full amount, so. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying for the revenue side,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think our current understanding of the billing between the two municipalities is 50% of the code officers billed over.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the current agreement?
That's the current agreement, but when they went through their budget, they had put in enough for the full amount, but they said they were still splitting the cost with our town.
Oh,
And my understanding is they want to continue to share that position. But I was just curious why are they budgeting 100% of his salary?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I believe the answer to that question is Colmar Manor feels that as a matter of contingency, if things go awry, a breach of contract under the MOU between the two towns, they probably do it as a precaution in case they need to hire their own full-fledged 100% coverage code enforcement officer. I imagine that's what's going on, if you will. I yield.
and Chief Ayers, that's correct. The chief put that in because he wasn't sure if what way they were gonna go, so he put it in his budget. I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago when he put it in. So he put the full amount in just in case, when we do our agreement, if everything goes well, it'd be 50%. If not, they're ready to go forward, getting their own code enforcement officer.
I noticed
Okay.
that also, and I guess one thing I'm wondering is, I don't think we've done the agreement yet, right? We're still waiting to finish all the terms of it. Am I understanding that right?
That is correct. We haven't signed it yet.
Okay. Thanks.
So Todd, should we, under 4086, instead of putting 50%, should we put 100%?
I would, so in 23 for the budget, we reported it as 0, because being conservative, we thought that Colmar Manor wouldn't participate or wouldn't pay for any portion of the code officer's salary. So we have it in 0 in the 23 budget. I like that because it's conservative. If it turns out that we don't agree on terms, we're not counting on that revenue in the 23 budget. And then if the agreement gets signed, we can always go back and amend the 23 budget. So I lean towards the presentation that we've presented all along, with it being 0 until the agreement's in hand.
Okay.
And then,
Thank
yeah, keep in mind, we're looking at 22's budget versus actuals here. And I was referring to in 23, we budgeted for 0 from Colmar Manor.
Okay. So for 23, we're budgeting 100% with 0 revenue from Comar Manor.
Exactly. Yep. And we can change it once the agreement's signed and the terms are outlined.
Okay. And if we do have to change it, do we have to do a budget amendment?
Yeah.
All right.
May I ask a quick question? Chief Ayers, do we have our new red light camera system set up yet? Chief Ayers?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, I was on a phone call.
That's okay. Do we have our new red light camera system set up yet?
No, they finished their survey. They're right now waiting for the permits from the State Highway Administration.
Okay. I just see an increase in, it looks like the revenue for the red light camera. So I'm wondering if that had anything to do with it.
Yes, ma'am. We just preparing for once we get it online, that we would have to pay them something. So we just put that in there as to cover the expenses.
Okay, I guess I was referring more to revenue or income,
Yeah,
but thank you.
Yeah, both revenue and income, we put it in there. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you, Todd, item 4095, that's interest income. What is that referring to? I'm sorry.
So if we had any of our bank accounts, we
Interest. Thank
collected,
you.
yep, interest on savings.
Thank you.
Point of order.
Yes, Commissioner Givens?
I don't believe, I think the first thing on the agenda should have been, and unless I missed it, the election results and then the office, the positions. Have we done that? Because I might have missed that because I came in a couple of minutes late. You can't conduct the
No,
meeting.
you're
if you don't know-
correct. You're absolutely correct. We did not do that. You're
Yeah.
absolutely correct. And I guess we can stop and go back to that now. So, I know that the numbers were, Commissioner Armache had 40, I had 40, and Commissioner Givens had 38, I believe. And we all ran unopposed. So we all retain our seats, but I guess we need to figure out who's going to be sitting in what position. Is that what you're referring to, Commissioner Givens?
Yeah, usually what happens is, well, I mean, I don't know if it's a protocol or requirement, but the Board of Election gives the election results and then it's certified and accepted by the commission. And at that point, there's a motion to, is there a motion on the floor to select chair? And then, then you kind of go through the different process of the chair, vice chair, and the secretary.
Is the Board of Elections present? Is anyone from the Board of Elections present?
No,
Because the board, no one's from the Board of Elections present, because Carol oversees the what's the name as some part of the board, she should be able to announce the results according to the certification as by the Board of Election.
Carol, you have that information?
I do. One moment.
I think we forgot all about it.
Okay. So the election results were for Ward 2, Artis Armache, 40 votes. And for Ward 3, Wanda Wheatley, 40 votes. And for Demetrius Givens in Ward 4, 38 votes. Those were the election results for the election held for the town of Cottage City on Monday, May 2nd.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Just you, if I'm not mistaken, there should have been a letter and should make sure it's done, signed by whoever was their president, and that's supposed to go in the file.
Yes, it was
it-
signed by each election board member.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure that was done. Okay,
It
All right.
was.
okay. All right, good. And then so I make a motion that we select Wanda Wheatley as the continuing chair for the town of Cottage City. And then so I guess there was I guess you could ask that, and then is there a nomination on the floor? That's probably what should be asked. And then we kind of go through that whole formal process.
Okay, is there a nomination on the floor for chair?
Commissioner Givens, I'll make a nomination for Wanda Wheatley to serve as the chair for the town of Cottage City.
Is there a second?
I second. This is Commissioner Young.
Thank you. Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Givens, aye.
Young, I.
Wheatley, aye.
Yuri, I.
Motion passes. Commissioner Armache is absent. But are there any abstentions or opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Is there a nomination on the floor for vice chair? I make a motion to nominate Commissioner Givens for vice chair.
I
Is this-
second it, Commissioner Young.
Thank you. Motion has been made by Commissioner Wheatley, seconded by Commissioner Young. All in favor, say aye.
Givens, aye.
Young, I.
Yuri, I.
Wheatley, aye. Commissioner Armache is absent. Are there any abstentions, opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. So we need to nominate secretary.
I
Is
make a
there?
motion,
Go ahead.
make a motion, nominate Artis Armache for secretary, continue in the position.
I second. Commissioner Wheatley.
I guess, let me ask, has she been sworn in?
Oh, that's
We
right.
probably
Yeah,
should hold off until
yeah,
she's,
you're right. She's right. Yeah. She hasn't been sworn in yet, so probably should hold off on that.
You want to hold off till next month?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll postpone nominating our secretary for the commission till next month. All right, so Commissioner Wheatley, myself will retain the seat of chair. Commissioner Givens will retain the seat of vice chair. So we'll move on. I believe we were still doing the financials.
yeah, right, I don't think we voted on the minutes and financials yet.
Mm-mm. There were a couple of questions. I think all the questions may have been asked, unless there's some additional comments or questions from anyone. Hearing none, I will accept a motion to approve the minutes and the financials for the month of April 2022. With the corrections
So moved,
made by Commissioner Young and Commissioner
so
Wheatley.
moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Givens, I second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Givens, aye.
Yuri, I.
Young, I.
Wheatley, aye. Armache is absent. Motion passes. There is no abstentions or opposed. All right, next on the agenda is old business. American Landscape and Tree Contract. And there's a contract proposal. There's the link. If, Carol, if you could bring that up for us, please. And Carol, will you be talking about the contract or will that be Greg?
It will be Greg.
Okay.
One moment.
Okay, Greg, are you ready? I think he's on. You're muted, Greg.
Well, I can go on.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the proposal by American Landscaping, basically to do the work on our trees The city had contracted them to do a tree survey, but they had never completed the proposal in order for them to do the work that was identified by the tree survey that was done last year. So this would basically
I don't know what's going on.
create that the contract in order for them to do it based upon the tree survey that was done for last year. And the amount is $44,780.
This is for the work that they had recommended based on the survey that was done?
Correct.
Okay.
And you all had agreed that you do want to go ahead with this contract based upon the discussion in the work session. So this is just the proposal that they have presented, and it has been reviewed.
All right, and we waived the competitive bidding for this project, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I have
So,
a question.
yes,
Is the survey that we're talking about the survey that included the Green Team survey?
No, ma'am. This was the survey that was done by American Landscaping.
Okay, and not in conjunction with the Green Team.
No, the Green Team did their own survey. There was not one done in conjunction. This was the one the city contracted American Landscaping to do.
Right. Okay.
correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, but I believe the Green Team used a survey that they started with the same survey. They just added on to it. Is that not correct, Greg?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Oh.
Is it not correct?
Yeah, this is the survey that we paid American Landscaping to go and do and give us a list of trees that needed work and what work needed to be done. And they compiled the list and gave us a price to do the work.
But didn't the Green Team also use the same list to help to do their survey?
Yes, they used the same list and they added some other things that they seen or that they wanted to get done on the list that American Landscaping did.
Correct. So, and to answer your question, the Green Team did see this survey. And they used it in addition to adding on other trees.
And so how are we going to address the issues with the other trees that they wanted to add on?
That's why we put the additional 45,000 in the budget. Remember, we put additional 45,000.
Right, we put additional amount, but what I'm wondering is, since this contract that they're proposing does not include those, how are those going to be handled?
So at the last meeting, when the commission, when we talked about this, the commission decided to move forward with this particular survey that American Landscaping did. And then we will have them reevaluate the other components that the Green Team had suggested of work to get done. But for now, we wanted to move forward with the work that needed to be done that American Landscaping did so that we can have somewhat of a foundation of work getting done now. And then we can add, that's why we added the extra money on so that we can add on more work in the future to get everything done. But for now, this is the stuff that we know.
Thank you. That makes sense. So they can be added on later. Thank you.
Yes, I believe that's what I was saying, Commissioner Young, is why we added the additional money was so that the work could get done. Are there any other questions?
Right. No, I remembered that. I just didn't remember how it was going to get done. But yeah, it makes sense now. Thank you.
All right. If there's no further questions, is there a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Best.
on the 23rd of April, I suggested several changes to this contract. They never made it in it. So I just want that to be known that the various amendments or provisions I proposed were not placed into this contract, including an adequate indemnification clause. Therefore, I take no responsibility for the state of the contract.
You sent in A modified contract on the 23rd of April to whom?
Let me check. I believe it was both the Public Works Director and the Town Manager.
Because I never saw any modified contract.
I didn't modify the contract. I sent an email with suggested changes or clauses proposed.
I never saw it.
I believe the indemnification clause, you gave us the ability to use the indemnification letter that we have that they would sign just as any other contractor.
Actually, I gave specific language. I don't think that would be too bad of an alternative, but
That was my understanding as well.
I gave a number of suggestions for language to be inserted. One about obtaining permits and signatures for orders to progress and change orders, a number of things. I won't waste the time to go through the number of things. And I certainly don't want to spend a lot of time justifying why I took the time to write the list of corrections or changes. I mean, it speaks for itself. You certainly can table this and revisit this, or you can just go ahead, assuming you're wishing to use your discretion and your exercise of your fiduciary duties. I'm just stating I've made a number of changes and they were basically ignored.
This is Commissioner Yuri. I think that we should table it and consider and incorporate Mr. Bess's recommendations.
Thank you, Commissioner Yuri. Does the body agree?
I guess I would agree.
Givens, I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it as well. So we'll table the contract until next month. Moving on. Big Belly Trash Can Circuit Board. I believe that is just,
Greg,
but that's, Greg, you want to take this one? I believe we talked about it during the work session, so.
Yeah, so the Big Belly contract, this is the estimate is for the network, the GSM network, so that they'll be able to track whether or not something is wrong with the Big Belly trash can, or if it is full and it gives us alerts. The commission wanted to see what the prices was per unit. Right now, there's only 6 units out, so they gave us a price for 6 units. $3,325 is what it would cost to upgrade them from the 3G that they are to the 5G, which they need to access the data through, I believe it's Verizon.
Thank you. You said this is a proposed, so this isn't the actual amount?
No, this is the estimate of what it will cost for the 6, and not, we got 10, but 4 of them are not out at the moment, so they only gave us the price for 6.
So you saying the circuit board has gone out and it's not working?
The circuit, right now, I don't get no data from 6 of our trash cans because they've been turned off because they're under 3G and not 5G.
So they need to be upgraded to 5G.
Correct.
Okay. And this, you want us to vote on this tonight?
Yes.
Okay. I believe we discussed this in the work session, so I don't know if there's any need for further discussion.
Did I just ask a question?
Yes.
I don't recall any discussion about it. I may have just zoned out at that point. But in any event, I've frankly never heard of trash cans that are connected to computers. But is the purpose of that to show when they're full, or what is it? Just for basic information, what is the What do we learn from the connection?
So the Big Belly trash cans have a circuit board in it that gives communication to the system that lets us know when they're full, when something is jammed, when something needs maintenance. The maintenance, it'll let the Big Belly company know when something needs maintenance or needs repair or something, and they'll come out and repair it. And we don't have to call them. We don't have to worry about, trying to figure out what's wrong with it. They'll get the alert straight to them, as well as an alert will come to us, and we'll know when it's out of commission and we'll know when it's back in commission. It also lets us know when they're full, if something's jamming the compactor, because these trash cans have compactors in it that actually compacts the trash
Oh.
can.
But we pick up the trash from them, not the
Yes.
company.
Yes. We own the trash cans. The service is just still through Big Belly.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't understand. Thank you.
Sorry, I forgot to take myself off mute. All right, so the question is, do we want to approve this contract with Big Belly Solar in the amount of $3,325 to update 6 circuit boards from 3G to 5G? Is there a motion to approve said contract? Or is this a contract or is this an invoice? It looks like an invoice.
It's an
Yeah.
invoice.
Yeah, this is an invoice. So you need us to approve this invoice because it's over $500. Is that what it is?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve? Hello? Am I muted? Can you
No.
guys?
I can hear you.
All right, so everyone can hear me. So is there not a motion? Is that what it is? We don't want to approve this invoice? Hello?
Commissioner
I
Givens.
guess I'm hesitating because I just did not understand what this was all about before. So I was waiting to have someone else who did have some understanding and background with it to make a motion.
They're the Big Belly trash cans. They're not working. In order for them to work, we need to fix the motherboard. The motherboard needs to be upgraded from a 3G to a 5G. We already have these things. It's not like we're
Now I understand
buying
that. I
them.
just didn't understand the computerized part.
So I guess the question is based on, I mean, I'm okay with whatever you guys want to do. I'm fine with it. I can live with it. I was never really thrilled about them in the first place because I think you should just take the trash out, but people got excited because they were free. So I guess at this point we're starting to pay for them. So they pay something on them towards them. So
Well, they're not working, right, Greg?
they work. They work, but they don't transmit the data. But as far as the compactor in there, that continues to work. It's just that you would have to go and check it. So if you don't want to if you want to be alerted and be notified of it's in operation or if it's full, then you would need to upgrade the motherboard.
So this is something that's not an emergency. as Commissioner Gibbons said, the trash cans work. There is just no communication from the trash can to the system to let us know what's going on with the trash can. So if the commission feels to get, they want to get more information about it, we can table it until next month. That's fine. But that's pretty much what I explained is pretty much what it is. I don't have no problem with tabling it because as Commissioner Gibbons said, the trash cans do work.
So if we don't upgrade the motherboard,
I'm sorry, I was.
you still can use it, right? You still can empty them. They still work. They still compress the trash and all that.
Right. Now, as far as the maintenance of them, if something goes wrong with them, we wouldn't know because we're not accustomed to working on Big Belly. So we wouldn't know what it needs, what's causing the malfunction. So we would have to either call somebody in or we would have to go try to figure it out ourselves and order the parts and put the part on. But nothing is wrong with them right now other than they're not communicating.
Okay, so the circuit board is not working, but that's not stopping the trash can from functioning.
Correct.
Okay, so we can table it till next month.
That's fine.
Okay, let's table it so we can move on. Installation of town hall TV video equipment, ARPA funding. This is resolution 2022-07. And this is, let me just read it into the record. A resolution concerning the Cottage City ARPA funding received for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022. Whereas the town's charter requires no public money may be expended without having been appropriated by the commission. Any transfer of funds between major appropriations for different purposes must be approved by the commission before becoming effective. Whereas the acting town manager and commission have discussed and agreed upon specific use of the ARPA funding for fiscal year 2022. And be it further ordained that this resolution shall further amend the fiscal year 2021-22 budget to reflect the following changes. Fiscal year 22 budget line 6505, capital equipment increase $3,945.88. Budget line item 6054, ARPA grant expense decrease $3,945.88. These funds will be allocated for installation and expense for town hall equipment. All righty, is there any discussion in regards to this? This is to install, I believe, the TVs and hard wiring. And there's something else they're gonna be doing, right, Carol?
The TVs, the hard wiring, the internet.
Right,
Camera system also.
And the camera system.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
that's it.
the camera system. Thank you, Chief. So that costs again. Yes, Commissioner Young?
All of that for $3,945?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
They're installing, I believe, 3 TVs, is it? Is it a total of 3?
That's correct. 3 TVs plus the installation of the wiring through the building, the outlets, the mirror imaging processor. That way both TVs can show the same image at the same time, and also the camera system for video conferences.
And the internet, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so for all of that work, the installation, the labor, that's the cost. And
The
so
TVs are
the TVs have already been purchased. They've already been purchased.
Are they the TVs for the meeting room or are they the TVs for just watching the hallways and so forth?
They're the TVs for the meeting room and the new conference room.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Any further discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve resolution 2022-07?
Commissioner
So
Givens,
moved, Commissioner Young.
Commissioner Givens, I second.
Thank you. The motion has been made by Commissioner Young. It's properly seconded by Commissioner Givens. Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Givens, aye.
Young, I.
Yuri, I.
Wheatley, aye. Commissioner Armache is absent. There are no opposed or abstentions. Motion passes. All righty, moving right along. Attorney for eminent domain, 3813 Cottage Terrace. If you remember last week during the work session, we discussed 3 possible attorneys for retention, for retaining their services. I believe Commissioner Young, you were familiar with the company Venable. Miller and Miller, I think was the most expensive, if I remember correctly.
Venable
And-
was the most expensive. So I know of them, but I was not supporting them because they were the most expensive.
Were they the most expensive? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think after our discussion, we had narrowed it down to Shipley and Horn, I believe. So, and we went into great length and discussion in regards to this last week, if you remember. And we were supposed to take a week to take a look at the retainers to see if we had any questions or comments. Carol, did you receive any questions or comments from the commissioners?
No, I have not.
Okay. All righty, well, we had a week to look at them. So we need to make a decision on who we're going to hire if we want to go ahead and get started with this process. And again, I believe last week's discussion, we had all kind of said that we would go with Shipley.
So I do want to say something about this before. I think it might be a good thing to kind of get started and to see where we're at, to kind of make it known our position. But I'm thinking like, moving forward in the future, if it's going to end up costing us, 50, 60, 70,000, we could just apply that towards the what it's going to cost us, because we're going to have to pay fair market value anyway, whether it's just a question of when they list it, you know what I'm saying, to make sure that we get it. But I don't want to go and spend, they said, one company said it could be as much as $100,000. Well, and then have to pay fair market value, whichever that is at that time, can be a little bit, like out of whack. You know what I'm saying? I don't mind spending the money initially to kind of get us started, let people know our position, but I'm not so sure if I want to kind of go that far, because I could just apply that. I yield back. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's why we all said that, that we would just start off with just seeing what our options were. I don't think anyone
I
wants
think
to
we-
spend 100,000. You were saying, Commissioner
I
Young?
think that, yeah, I don't know Shipley and Horn, and I guess my main question would be whether they would be capable of sort of, excuse me, I'm about to sneeze. Pardon me. Whether they would be capable of sort of bargaining in a smart way with the family to encourage them to sell it to us at the lowest, with the least amount of trouble for both sides. Because I think that would be the outcome that would be the best, assuming we get a law firm involved. You've had experience with them, Carol, before. Is that the kind of thing that you've seen before and you think that they would be able to accomplish? Or would they have more of an interest in moving forward with the litigation? We would love to avoid that if we can.
Well, I
I
think,
think that's what Demetrius.
well, I think no matter whom you hire, you have to make it known what your interest is. You know what I mean? So all of these are top rated firms. So rest assured with that, but in terms of whether the family will sell, that's an unknown on whether the family will do that or not. But when you're talking about eminent domain, you're not talking about negotiation. You're basically doing a condemnation. So no matter who represents you, if it comes to that, then that's a different dynamic. You're not asking them to negotiate with you.
Right. But I mean, a good lawyer would be able to try to negotiate to settle before spending a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're capable.
So are we talking about that? Can you give me the numbers of the first, second, or third? Because I recall liking the third company. So I'm not sure I don't know who Shipley is in that was presented to us.
Well, I'm not sure which the third one was, but I'll pull it up again.
That was Venable as the third one in the list anyway. They were the most expensive, and then Miller were the next most expensive. Shipley was the third most expensive. I had not centered on them because they did not go into much detail about what they, how they would approach the case as the other two. But on the other hand, Carol knows them and knows their.
Well, neither did Venable. They basically gave their hourly rate of $525, and that if it goes to jury, it could be as high as $100,000. That was Venable. I can't remember what order they were when we first talked about them. So
they did talk about the possibility of settling.
Well, they talked about discovery, and here is Shipley and Horn. Retainer of $3,500, and then they gave the rates for their attorneys. And that's that one. And then Miller and Canby. Hourly rate of $450, and at the lowest rate of $350, depending on which attorney. And they would want for the first 6 months a flat fee of $10,000, and another flat fee of $10,000 after the first 6 months, and then a flat fee of $15,000 if it needs to be tried.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, correction. I remember now. So I'd like to choose Shipley, but I'm not sure where everybody else sits. Thank you.
Based on our meeting last week in the work session, we all kind of said the same thing, Shipley. That's what I remember.
Okay, all right. So can we just go and make the motion and kind of get through it so we can move on?
Yes, please. I'd be happy to entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Best.
it's a bit astounding to me as the appointed chief legal counsel of the town that no one has sought one iota from me terms of a recommendation on these legal counsel. I know them all. I know the reputation, and I know the nature of the work with this eminent domain matter. And it's very surprising to me that you didn't seek my input, but fair enough. The charter does permit you to hire alternative counsel for various matters. I just don't understand why you did not confer with me. Do you have an answer for that?
Yes, you
What
said
would
that
your
you
input be, Kevin?
Well,
were you
my input-
asking me or were you asking the commission? Who were you asking?
whatever your pleasure is. Whoever on the commission would like to answer it.
Commissioner Young, you can go and then I'll go.
Kevin, I just want to know what your recommendations would be on these three, if you know them all.
Madam Commissioner, I just glimpsed at these contracts 3 or 4 minutes ago. I'm not in a position to really recommend. There was some language in the first one from the Miller and Miller firm that I found very impressive. But I'm not really prepared to give an opinion on these 3 retainer agreements.
I thought you said that you knew them all and that you could give reactions to them.
I want to read their retainer letters to what terms that they're recommending or requesting. I'm not really familiar with that at this point, having just pulled up and started looking at these retainer agreements.
But
Shipley and
just in
Horn,
terms of their ability to represent us in an eminent domain case.
they're all 3 good firms. I've known Shipley and Horn for the 16 years I practiced law. They're more of a boutique firm dealing with zoning, planning and zoning in Prince George's County. I imagine, but they do get involved with land development agreements and issues. Right now, Shipley and Horn represents National View, and I'm the town attorney of Forest Heights. Shipley and Horn is one of 2 legal counsel for Petra Development that's developing National View down by the casino. So they are well regarded, and Mr. Shipley, I imagine he's retired by now, but Arthur Horn is a pretty respected zoning attorney. And then the other 2 firms, Venable is a major firm in Maryland, highly reputable. And then the other firm, Miller and Miller Canby, I believe it is, they're a good reputable firm as well. I'm not really prepared to really say, well, who is the best eminent domain special counsel. If you'd like to table these and let me review them, I'll give you my recommendation. But if you're tired of hemming and hawing about these things and you're anxious to get started, well, by all means. But I just thought I'd chime in. Thank you. I yield.
All right,
What
thank
do you
you.
think, Demetrius?
I mean, it doesn't sound like we've been this far. I mean, it doesn't sound like holding it off until another month, to give them a chance to review. I'm not, unless so I'd be willing to listen to it. You know what I'm saying? But, I'm stuck on stupid on 100,000 and these retainers and these possibilities. So, but I'm willing to listen. So to his recommendation. So I don't think it hurts anything to just wait another 30 days. We've been this far.
Wanda?
Personally, I understand waiting another 30 days to have Attorney Best review the 3 retainers, but I'm at the point now where I'm ready to move forward. I think we have discussed this more than enough, but I will be willing to wait another 30 days. But if you ask me personally, I think we need to go ahead and keep it moving. It's been hanging around our neck. We've been talking about it. You guys said you were anxious to get started. You don't want to lose the property. And now here you are, you want to wait another 30 days. So fine, let's wait another 30 days. It's okay with me. Commissioner Yuri?
I said let's go ahead and have Mr. Best review it. I mean, I don't think we're in that much jeopardy of losing the property immediately. So I would, take the caution and go ahead and have him review it.
Okay, there you go, Mr. Best. You have 30 days until our next meeting to review the 3 retainers. Let's move on. Camp for the Police
I did have one
Explorers.
other thing I wanted to say about this before we go on. I just want to emphasize my main concern here, and I wasn't really advocating for waiting or not waiting. My main concern here is that we want to have someone who understands that we don't need to go to litigation if there's a possibility of settling this in a decent way. And I know some attorneys are more open to that than others are. Some are more skilled at that. And so that would be my main concern there. So whether we wait or go forward, I think we want someone who will be able to communicate and talk and try to bring it to a close at the lowest possible cost.
Let me just piggyback off that, if I may, Madam Chair, is that Commissioner Young is
Mr. Best, yes, you can piggyback, but please let this be the last comment because I would like to move on because we've discussed this enough. We're not going to make a decision tonight. We're going to table it till next month. But go ahead, please make your comments so we can move on.
What I was going to say is negotiating fair market price is an indispensable first step in a condemnation matter. It's a matter of negotiating, and the negotiating can continue throughout the civil litigation process. And it's not a matter of just eminent domain pounding a fist and enforcing your local government powers to take the land. Negotiating is indispensable because that's the first step to determine and settle the case with a settlement offer at fair market value. So I'll yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Camp for the Police Explorers. Chief, you want to take that one?
Yes, ma'am. I'll be very quick. In reference to my proposal to take the kids to this trip, is Explorer Leadership Conference. It's going to be August 15th through Friday, August 19th. Is a week camp, overnight camp. It's run by the Boy Scouts of America Explorer Commission. What we're trying to do is take 6. Commissioner Givens wants to take 6 instead of 4 explorers and also 2 advisors. The total amount is going to be $2,560 for the payment of all the people going to be involved, the 6 explorers as well as the 2 advisors, for the meals, for the field trips, and for the payment of the camp. Right now, I'm just asking permission from the commission to allow me to go ahead and purchase these spots. Right now, June 1st is when I have to turn in the names of the individuals that are attending. And by June 30th, I had to make the final payment.
And the cost is $320 per person?
Yes, $320 per person and $2,560 altogether.
And what's the $20 dues for? What's that?
The $20 dues, that's something we already paid for. Each Explorer post has to be pay their dues for the year, and we already done that.
Okay, and give me the total again.
Total is $2,560.
2560.
That's correct, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so I know we discussed it last week. I believe Commissioner Givens recommended sending 6 versus 4, which is what you're asking for now, is 6 spots for this camp, which is a 4 or 5 day trip.
Yes, a 5-day trip. It has several activities each day.
And you're going to get the permission slips from the parents, correct?
Yes, they have to have permission slips signed before they can go attend.
Okay. And without going into much detail, I believe the town manager had a discussion with you in regards to some things about the trip.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you're on board with that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Madam
Chief,
Chair,
maybe I missed it. Why did you decide to add 2 more individuals? Was it from my recommendation or?
Well, we have supervisors at supervisor level. We have 2 commanders, we have 2 sergeants, we have 2 corporals. Commissioner Givens thought it's better to send the most kids we possibly can. The max is 6 per Explorer post. So we selected 2 more corporals to go.
Okay, thank you.
let me ask Madam Chair a couple questions.
Yes,
I think that, and I apologize if I repeat or I'm redundant, but I don't go to all your meetings. I go to your regular meetings. With the permission slip and the attendance of these young men and women at the camp, do they become the responsibility of the camp administrators, or is the town sending police officers to go to camp as well to chaperone or to supervise the explorers?
They are supervised by Explorer advisors, which are police officers. We went through training under the Boy Scouts of America. There's a certification that we had to go through and get done with fingerprints. So we had to get re-fingerprinted. Even though we're police officers, we still had to get re-fingerprinted. So these are trained advisors that are going with these kids.
Are the trained advisors Town of Cottage City police officers or the Explorer camp?
No, they're 2 police officers from Town of Cottage City. They're
Cottage City.
certified advisors.
All right, so one of the issues that comes to mind to me is to ensure that there's adequate waiver of liability from the parents. If something catastrophic happened to one of these young people while at the camp under someone not under the control of the police department of the town, there could be some major repercussions. So it's just food for thought, and I'll yield. Thank you.
Yes, in reference to that, we do have the waivers that I can send to you, Mr. Best.
Did you get them from the Explorer camp?
Yes, from Boy Scouts of America Explorers. Yes, we have that.
They're probably pretty good. They're very professional, I imagine. I don't think it's, unless the commission wanted me to, I don't think it's necessary for me to over lawyer this thing. I yield. Madam Chair.
thank you. Chief, the 4 children that you selected to go, or the 4 people you selected to go, they're all Cottage City residents, right?
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And like I said before, we only have 1 individual right now that's out of the town.
So,
Yes.
excuse me, you have 1 individual who is does
Outside
not,
town. No, but he's not going on a trip, but we only have right now on our Explorer post 1 individual is not is outside town, and he's in Brentwood. He lives in Brentwood. But everybody else is lives inside town.
okay, but he's
Is
not
everyone,
going.
But he's
is
not going.
everyone going to Cottage City?
Just a
I'm
minute,
sorry.
just a minute, Commissioner Yuri, let me finish. So the one that lives in Brentwood, is he going on the camp trip or not?
No, ma'am, he's not going on a trip.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Yuri.
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you asking the same question. That was it.
All righty, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the camp for the police explorers in the amount of $2,560 for 6 individuals to attend this camp during the week of June? What is it? June. What's the date again, Chief? June 15th to the 19th?
No, it's gonna be August
Oh, is it August?
15th through August 19th.
I'm sorry, August 15th through August 19th. Is there a
Commissioner,
motion to approve?
Commissioner Givens, make the motion as read.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
That was Commissioner Young that made the second.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Givens, aye.
Yuri, I.
Young, I, obviously with the extreme care taken with the kids, to watch out for their welfare.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Wheatley, aye. Commissioner Armache is absent. Motion passes. There were no abstentions or opposed. Next on the agenda is Cottage City Day 2022. I asked for this to be put on the agenda because I don't think we ever made a final decision in regards to this year's Community Day. And I wanted to know if we were planning to do one so that we could let the staff know so they can start preparations, and mainly so we could schedule park and planning if we do plan to have the event. If we don't plan to have the event, that's fine. I just would like to give the staff some information so they'll know how to proceed.
Well, Commissioner Givens, I would say it's important to hear from Greg from the perspective of, because he usually kind of organizes it, and as well as hear from the chief, you know, and no disrespect to Ms. Carroll, but because she hasn't been here, so she may not know the amount of work and the preparation that's needed. So, and then the commission can kind of make a decision based on, you know, how they feel from a safety perspective, you know, but I think it's important to kind of get the logistics understood and if it's plausible or not. So I would like to hear their opinions. Thank you.
Well, this chief, I yield to Greg, because this will be my first one. Since I've been here, we've been COVID. So if Greg thinks that, you know, we can do it, I'm here to help him out to make sure it's get done. But Greg.
It's something that we can get done. I mean, we just need to know pretty much what the commission don't want. Like the water slides, we usually have a water slide every year. Is that something that you don't want this year? That's pretty much it, but we can pretty much get it done, especially with the chief being on board, having another set of hands, a person who does events, and Ms. Carroll who has done events. I think we can really get it done. It's just a matter of, are we going to do it? And if there's anything that the commission don't want to do this year and rather, you know, push off until next year.
I would like to do it if we can. I mean, we haven't had it in 2 years. I know other municipalities are having their community day. Matter of fact, Mount Rainier is having their community day this Saturday. They're doing a parade and it's going to be outside. I know that Cheverly is scheduled to have theirs. I believe Brentwood is scheduled to have theirs. There's other municipalities that are very close to us who are scheduled to do theirs. So I know it's an outdoor event. I would love to be able to do it again. I don't know, when you say things we don't want to do, is there a reason why we wouldn't want to do it? Are you saying it because of COVID? Like, why wouldn't we do the water slide?
Well, I'm saying that because like we usually have water slides, we usually have moon bounces, you know, things like that. If the commission are okay with that, then, you know, we're good. I just want to make sure that we don't have something that you don't want. You know, you feel it's going to be a problem. So if there is no problems based off of what we've been having in the last, you know, the past years before COVID, then it's fine. We can move forward and I can get with the chief and Ms. Carroll and Brittany and we can put it together. And
I think I hear what you're saying, Greg, and you know, and I'm let me tell you, I want to say this first and foremost. I'm huge advocate for the water slide. I just think it's a great opportunity for these kids to kind of do that. But with that said, this year I might think we should take a pass, only because when you do the water slide and, you know, and even do the moon bounces, you're encouraging people to come within a space, right? And we're not out of the woods just yet, you know. being outside is great. You know, I think we should probably, I'd like to do to do the event, but I'm not sure if we should do some of those events that are kind of like, there is no social separating when you talk about that water slide or the moon bounce and some of the other things. And so maybe we should start off kind of slow this year, see where we're at, and then maybe next year bring it back. So I yield back. Thank you.
Madam
I
Chair.
think doing the moon bounce, I don't think we should do that at all because it's too much. The kids are inside, they're jumping around and it's those balls and they are already nasty anyway. So no, I don't think we should do the moon bounce at all. And I understand what you're saying, Commissioner Givens, about the water slide, but maybe we can come up with some other activities that the kids could do or that people can do.
That's fine. We can do more of a carnival game type of event like we've done that in the past. I just wanted to make sure that, those were the main elements that I wanted to make sure that the commission thought about. So we can take those elements out and we can add more carnival type games and things like that. We still have some of the things that we had from the carnival Cottage City Day that we had. So we can utilize those and do more games and stuff like that.
Okay.
I do want to say, Commissioner Wheatley, looking at the financials, I don't know what's in it, but in Cottage City Day's budget, it says balance $2,352.37.
Why would that balance be that low? Because don't we normally put in like $4,000?
There is 4,000 in there, so there's something that's been applied to that. I'm not sure what it is, but that's what the balance is right now.
Okay, well, Carol, can you get with Todd to see what's going on with that? Because that shouldn't, to my knowledge, we haven't used any of that money this year, this current fiscal year.
And can I ask a question? When is Cottage City Day?
It's in August.
Okay, that'd be next year's budget also. We should have plenty of money to take care of that. But like I said, we're ready to go. We do have some equipment from other events we had last year that we still have, like the sack races, tug of wars. We have the other toys and activities and kickballs we have. So we have a lot of events that we put together for this event. Activities we put together for this event.
Chief Wright, I take that back. It is in the next year's budget, so that budget doesn't even matter. So we set.
I think Mr. Best was trying to say something.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if you don't mind, thanks, Commissioner. I would recommend that you do a quick call to the County Health Department because the health officer, in addition to the county executive, has authority to promulgate COVID regulations. So either peruse their website or give them a call and see if they have any recommendations for the, social distance or moon bounces and water slides, et cetera. I mean, it's just an idea.
That's something that we do for each one of them, as we got to get some permits from them as well. So.
Thank you. Mr. Proctor, you left a comment in the chat. Could you explain your comment, please?
Sure. We were just thinking specifically of the Easter event, and we were kind of really disappointed to show up at the start time and realize that it started about an hour earlier. And we were told because crowds had started. So, and there were several families that kind of came at the time that the flyer had said the event was going to start. We were kind of just left sitting on the sidelines.
No, that's not true. That's not true. We started on time. We started at 12 o'clock. It's already posted. I have pictures showing that we started at 12 o'clock. Everything started on time by the flyer.
Oh, well, that's not what our experience was, or several other families, and we were just surprised.
Like I said, you look at the flyer, 12 o'clock, we have timestamp pictures I can send to you. We started exactly 12 o'clock.
Okay, sure. It might have been a misunderstanding on our end. Yeah, if we could just stick to the starting time so that we actually, the community has an opportunity to actually arrive and enjoy all of the events that are being provided. That would be
right. And that's what we do. We do that on purpose. I made sure that we started exactly at 12 o'clock.
All righty, thank you for your comment. I think I actually got some calls from a few, a few folks saying that by the time they got there, everything was over. So I don't think you were the only ones who were disappointed. So maybe that what happened was you guys started on time, but maybe you ended early. I'm not sure. I was out of town that weekend, so I didn't attend. But
We started the Easter egg hunt exactly 12 o'clock with the infant kids first. Right after the infant kids were finished, we started with the 6 to 8, and then the 8 to 12, 9 to 12 went after that. After that was over, we took everybody to the ball field, and that's when we had the open play. So it started on time at 12 noon, and it was posted on both our social media sites as well as our newsletter went out that it starts at 12 noon sharp. So we just started right on time.
no, I wasn't saying that you didn't start on time. I was saying maybe it ended early. So by the time that the families got there, maybe things were already over. I didn't say you didn't start on time. That's not what I was saying. But I know I got calls too. All righty, so it sounds like we're gonna have Cottage City Day. Are we in agreement, commissioners?
Commissioner Givens, I agree, and
You're muted, Commissioner. We can't hear you.
oh, I would like to see some citizen participation. So if we can invite the public to join the committee, because I know we've done a committee in the past, and sometimes we get participation, sometimes we don't. I think, but that would be good if we got public participation as well as like maybe some of the explorers as well, because I think they play an active role in it as well. So I yield back. Thank you.
Commissioner Givens, I know one year we had you did the rosé frosty thing. You think we could do that again?
Yeah, we could do that. We could do that. And I think as a part of the committee, we can kind of make, even if we don't want to be on the committee, I think you can make recommendations to the committee, and then we'll kind of put everything together. The committee will put everything together as to what the planned activities are, and then people will be given assignments as to who's organizing or handling what. Greg's usually pretty good about creating some type of plan for it, and kind of working with the committee members in that, along with Brittany. So thank you.
Okay, Commissioners Young and Yuri, are you okay with us moving forward with the Cottage City Day event?
Yes, I'm fine with it, with the limitations we've talked about.
Commissioner Yuri?
I know that my phone has been going in and out of service a little bit. I know that we're relaxing on some of the COVID precautions, but how do we plan on making sure that everyone is kind of staying safe with that?
Well, I think one of the things we were discussing, I'm not sure if you heard, we're going to kind of nix some of those activities that you couldn't really social distance, i.e. the water slide and i.e. the moon bounce, right? Because you're in this confined space. But, we just, we would encourage people to kind of, if you're because we're outside, we have more of ability to kind of separate and some of the other activities and don't necessarily have to be like on top of each other as in some of the events. So, but I think the committee could do a good job, in having those conversations as well. So,
do we think that masks should still be worn? Thank you, Commissioner Givens.
Well, I think that should be, well, you can't be mandatory. So that could just be a recommendation, and like Mr. Best said, hear from the health department, and just you put that in the newsletter as whatever recommendation that's warranted, but you can't really mandate that in Maryland anymore.
Right. Yeah. I would be kind of, I would encourage that we maybe put some type of recommendation there, because the rates are still fluctuating, and we go in and out of having mask mandates and back to, it being mandated. So maybe if we could put that recommendation there would be good.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I was supposed to make a recommendation that we do new business first, and I totally forgot about it. So, Carol, is Todd still with us or did he leave?
He's still with us.
I'm
Okay,
present.
all right. If everyone's okay, I would like to rearrange the agenda just a little bit. I would like to move, to new business and then come back to the old business that we kind of got through most of it. But in order to save time and so that Todd is not, we do not take up any more of his time, I'd like to move to new business if that's okay. So we can discuss the budget while Todd is here. Is everyone okay with that?
Givens, yes.
Fine, fine with me.
Thank you. Commissioner Yuri.
That's fine with me as well.
Okay. All right, so let's do the budget ordinance first reading and then we'll go to the other item. So ordinance 202202. Okay. An ordinance of the Cottage City Commission to adopt a budget and levy property taxes for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. Whereas sections 38, 39, and 40 of the Charter of Cottage City requires the Cottage City Commission to adopt an annual budget containing anticipated revenues and appropriations for public purposes. And whereas each fiscal year of the town commences on July 1 and ends by the following June 30th, pursuant to section 38 of the Charter of the town. And, oh goodness, and whereas section 39 of said charter requires that before adopting the budget, the commission shall hold a public hearing thereon after 2 weeks' notice thereof in some newspaper or newspapers having general circulation within the municipality. And whereas section 46 of the Cottage City Charter provides that the budget ordinance shall contain the tax levy for the fiscal year. And let's see, where did I stop?
Chair, you need not read the entire ordinance. You read the title, and that's adequate under case law in Maryland.
Okay, because I don't even know where I just stopped, but that's it. That's the ordinance 2022-02. And the proposed budget for fiscal year 22-23 is attached. If anyone would like to take a look at it or have any questions, I do know that we, based on last week's work session, we did add an additional $30,000 for some upgrades to the town hall, which would be used through the ARPA funds. Were there any additional changes? I don't think anything else changed other than that.
Just to bring the commission up to date, we changed a couple small line items. We got notices from vendors about changes in their rates. Bates and the workman's comp vendor both gave us, their projected fees for next fiscal year. So that accounts for about $7,000 worth of changes from what we presented initially.
Yes, that's correct. I'm sorry, I forgot. We did get some increases based on some of the vendors. So Bates they did raise their rate, and I believe it was for a gas fee. If I'm
That's
not
correct.
mistaken. Yeah. And then our premium for our insurance went up due to I guess we had a couple of claims that we had put in. Is that correct, Carol?
Yeah, the amount of our loss, so our rate increased. So they look at how many claims you've had in the last 5 years and the ratio of the amount of the claims to what you pay for your premium. So ours went up by about $4,000.
Did you get a list of how many claims were put in?
I
over the
did.
last 5 years?
Yep, I got it today.
Will you be able to share that with the commission at some point?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I would
All
like
right.
to see that as well, if I may.
Okay.
So are there any questions in regards to the changes that were made or mentioned tonight? Hearing no questions or comments. Is there a motion to approve ordinance 2022-02?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I thought this was just the first reader.
It is.
You don't take a vote for the first reader. You only take a vote
Yeah.
when you pass the ordinance. You're just reading.
Um,
Okay.
This is the first reader?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize that. Oh, it says it right there, first reader. I totally missed it. Sorry, guys.
So never mind. My
All right.
motion.
Okay, so there's no questions for Todd. We did the first reader. Todd, thank you. I'm sorry. I apologize that I didn't get to you first. I meant
Thanks all. Have a good evening.
you too. I am so sorry about that. All righty.
Can I make a request? We do have someone waiting from CPJ regarding the paving and drainage projects. That was under new business. Is it possible to go to Ms. Barnhart?
I don't see that under new business. Where
I'm
is it?
sorry, under old business. I'm sorry, under old business.
Yes, we can. So that's the preliminary design and budget projection for paving and drainage projects. So is that Robin that's going to be presenting?
Yes.
All right, Robin, are you ready to present?
I am.
You have the floor.
Thank you. I will share my screen. So, or actually I can't. Ms.
No,
Richard-
I'm gonna make you a co-host, just a
Okay.
moment. All right, so you can share now.
Okay, hopefully everyone can see my screen. We shared out or sent into the town our report. And I'm showing the images from that report. So we toured the town and looked at 4 locations that were identified as having drainage issues within the town. And what we've prepared in this report is a summary of the issues and the summary of our recommendation on how to address it. Well, it's drainage issues and paving requests as well. So this summarizes the issues and how it can be repaired. And it also provides a preliminary construction cost estimate that includes some preliminary design fees as necessary in that. We were informed that this was for budgeting purposes, so it's not a true proposal as of yet. It's just preliminary. So the 4 locations that we looked at, the first one is 43rd Avenue. The second one is the alleyway that connects between Parkwood Street and the commercial parking lot off of Bladensburg Road, located between 38th Street and 40th Avenue. The third location is the alleyway that connects 38th Street to 37th Avenue. And the fourth location is at the intersection of Parkwood Court with Bunker Hill Road and across that entrance. So in the interest of time, I was going to just summarize the issues and what we were proposing at each location, and then see if anyone had any questions about that I could answer. The 43rd Avenue, previously we had met with State Highway Administration out there regarding the ponding water that occurs at the intersection of Bladensburg Road and 43rd Avenue, and in the wintertime led to significant icing issues. State Highway, that's within their right of way, and they did agree that they were going to come out and mill and correct that grading with an overlay so that it would drain properly, or at least improve from where it is right now. But that alleviates for the ponding there, but at the same time, what is still occurring is that the rear of the lots on 42nd Avenue are slope towards the alleyway that's located between 42nd and 43rd. And then that slopes into the rear yards of the houses located on 43rd Avenue and ultimately out to 43rd Avenue. And it's our understanding that there have been issues with groundwater in the rear of the lots, and which leads to sump pumps for the houses on 43rd Avenue having to run continuously. And then those sump pumps are pumped out towards 43rd Avenue. And then because it's running year round, it does lead to icing along 43rd Avenue during the winter time. So in order to address this, preliminary concept is to repave the alleyway. It is already currently paved, but there is some pavement distress in there. So we would repave it, mill and overlay to correct the grading. We may need to add some curb and gutter on the side that's to the rear of the houses on 43rd Avenue to direct the water down to where the alleyway makes a 90-degree bend out to connect to 43rd Avenue. And then at that location, we would install a storm drain inlet to collect that water. This would help divert water from going into the rear lots of the 43rd Avenue homes. The storm drain there would come out and connect to proposed storm drain in 43rd Avenue, and we would run that out parallel 43rd Avenue out and connect into the storm drain along Bladensburg Road. So this would be a connection into SHA Highway, maintained storm drain. We're also showing a storm drain pipe extending up 43rd Avenue in the northerly direction. And what this is to be able to provide connections, sub-out connections towards the lot so that the sump pumps and the roof downspouts could be connected into and then piped down instead of letting it run in the gutter to help alleviate icing concerns in the wintertime. What's included right now is just the stub outs to the property lines. If there was some discussion about possibly seeing about offering a grant or something to the homeowners to help them make the connections into the stub outs. We did not include that as part of the scope just because it's unknown of how many homes would take advantage of that at this time. So right now it's only limited up to just extending it to the right-of-way line. In addition, the right in front of house number 3706 on 43rd Avenue, there's actually an existing groundwater seep that comes over the curb and into the drains down the gutter pan. So we would propose a stone French drain behind the curb to help intercept that water and then tap that water into the proposed storm drain system. Because we'd be bringing the pipe up the roadway, we obviously have to cut the roadway to put that pipe in. Once it's done, we'll have to do a full depth patch over top of the storm drain. But it was discussed with, I was out there with Chief Ayers and Public Works Director, Mr. Pinckney, and that the entire roadway width, once all the work was done, would be milled and overlaid so we didn't have any seams. And also including replacement of the curb and gutter on both sides of the street. In addition, behind the commercial building that's at number 4300 4300 Bladensburg Avenue, the existing alleyway has some standing water and it's getting some potholes there. And so that section of pavement would be removed and replaced with a concrete pavement that's heavy duty for trucks to help hold up to that traffic. Moving to the second location, this is the alleyway between Parkwood Street and the commercial parking lot on Bladensburg Road. So there is a narrow alleyway that's by plat. Right now, most of it is not paved. There is a section that's paved off of Parkwood Street, and it comes back roughly to the rear of 3718 on 40th Avenue. The remaining of that is grass until you reach the commercial parking lot. So what was requested was to be able to connect the two pavements there with a paved alleyway, but a swing gate or removable bollard would be provided in order to prevent cut-through traffic. So this would just be purely just an asphalt exercise. The biggest thing with this location is identifying and locating the property corners in order to get the alleyway in its platted designation area. The third location is the existing alleyway between 38th Avenue and 37th Avenue. It's currently is existing asphalt. The majority of the length shown here in red would be milled and overlaid. The section closest to 37th Avenue, that is where the ground is actually steeper, and this alleyway is one way. And so vehicles come here, they have to brake and stop before they exit onto 38th or 37th Avenue. And this includes garbage trucks and other heavy trucks. So this section here on the steep slope, shows more extensive cracking that needs to be repaired in the asphalt. So we would propose to remove that asphalt and replace that again with a heavy duty concrete that would withstand the traffic on that slope better. The fourth location is at the intersection of Parkwood Court with Bunker Hill Road. There's existing sidewalks with ADA ramps. What direction is that? It's the northwest corner of the intersection in front of this ADA ramp. There's the asphalt grading there is such that it creates a little depression that will pond a little bit of water until it can evaporate out. But in the wintertime, that does lead to icing. There's an existing inlet in front of the ADA ramp on the opposite side of the Parkwood Court entrance. So in order to drain this properly, what we would propose would be to provide a concrete swale from one side of Parkwood Court to the other to connect to drain that water to the inlet. There is a standard county detail for that. It does need a minimum of 1% slope to make that work. If the 1% cannot be provided based on the elevations, then another way of dealing with that would be to provide a trench drain across there. The trench drain, because it's connecting to the county storm drain, would require county approval for that connection, whereas the concrete swale, if that could go in, that would just be a pavement operation. So those are the four locations and what was discussed to resolve the paving and drainage issues. Again, we provided some preliminary construction estimates for each location and also an estimated engineering fee as an allowance for that. So combined for the 43rd Avenue, at this time we've listed permit fees and if there was grants for connecting the on-lot roof drains to the stub outs. Those are both listed as to be determined. But without those, we're estimating this to be just a little bit more than $594,000 for that. The alleyway between Parkwood Street and Bladensburg, This would be, this would be under 5,000 square feet of disturbance and no permits would be needed. And the total right now is estimated at a little over $83,100. The alleyway between 37th and 38th Avenue, again, would be the mill and overlay options is not disturbing anything in the small area of pavement to concrete alleyway or concrete pavement would be under 5,000, so no permits would be required. So we're estimating this to be about $81,500. And then the Parkwood Court drainage, again, under 5,000 square feet of disturbance, so no permits would be needed. And that would be, assuming we didn't have to tie in with the storm drain, of course, that would be just under 14,100 as well. So again, we prepared this for the town's use in budgeting of the work. So combined, all of these, all four options are combined is approximately $773,200. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer that.
Robin, I have some questions. Can you give me that number one more time? That's 700 and how much?
Just it's rough. It's 773,200.
Okay.
I did a quick add up of these grand totals of the four, and it's roughly around that, plus or minus.
I do have a question in regards to 43rd Avenue. Can you explain why that one is so much? Are we gonna try to apply for some grants for that? Because how are we gonna pay for that?
You definitely could go after grants to see what's out there for that. The cost for this and why it's more is because we are installing a storm drain system. And there's also extensive area of pavement as well that we're dealing with. If I flip down here to the cost estimate, you'll see the storm drain again, and keep in mind, this is preliminary. I have not done any storm drain sizing computations or anything like that. So it was just more about linear feet of pipe with a approximate cost. So about $100,000 is in storm drain. We have 72,000 for mill and overlay, 32,000 for the full depth paving for the alleyway, and we allotted 10,000 for the full depth patch that goes back over top of the storm drain. The curb and gutters, a little over 47,000 estimated there. So that's how that adds up. That adds up to just under 388,000. Because this is so preliminary, we left a 30% contingency on that, which came out to about 116,000. And I applied an engineering allowance for design for this of about $90,000. Like I said, this is preliminary, so this is the construction costs would be refined as the design goes. For permits, we would definitely have to get a permit from SHA to tap the storm drain into their storm drain system. For the rest of the work, we would try to, we think that we could get most of the work done as a maintenance to keep it out of needing permits, because that would obviously reduce the cost that the town would need to pay for. And then that's also presuming that the storm drain is maintained by the town. If the proposed storm drain, if you want that to be maintained by the county, that would have to be discussed with the county to see if they would entertain that. And if that was, then they would require a permit as well. So this does not take into account the additional engineering time and process to obtain that permit.
Okay, and then I have one more question. You had mentioned some cutting of the curbs and gutter, I believe.
For 43rd?
For 43rd, yes.
Yeah, so when we were on site, in discussing 43rd Avenue, and what what was requested to be the scope was, once the storm drain went back in, is we have to do a full depth patch of asphalt over the storm drain, because we have to trench and dig that out to put the storm drain in. But then to do a mill and overlay the full width. But it was also requested at the same time to have the curb and gutter replaced on both sides while the contractors were already in there doing the work.
So I guess I don't understand the curb and gutter part of it. Are you talking about the sidewalk or?
The curb and gutter is the concrete, 6-inch high concrete right at the edge of the road pavement. Your sidewalk is about a 4 or 5 foot width concrete separated back from the back of curb. So the curb and gutter is that concrete that abuts the asphalt pavement.
Okay, I got you. So you wouldn't be disturbing the sidewalk at all?
No, there are, for where the stub out connections come through, we did put an allowance in there for panels of the existing sidewalk to be removed and replaced to allow those to come across, but that's it, not to replace the full length of the sidewalk.
Okay, because I know we just had some sidewalk replacements. So I'm just wondering, are you talking about in those areas that we've already done? Or are you talking about different areas?
I'm not sure of the areas that you've had done. I'm only showing, I only called out for panels for constructability access for be able to put these stub outs across, but I don't know the limits of the sidewalk that you've already had done.
Okay. Maybe you can get with Public Works and you guys can talk about that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for your presentation. Are there any other comments or questions for Robin while she's here? Because I know it's late and she probably wants to get off this call.
I have a quick question. With respect to the alleyway between Cottage Terrace and Parkwood, between 37th and 38th. You talked about that small area down there, replacing the pavement with stronger concrete for a total of 80-some thousand. Did I hear that right?
Yes. So for that, we have 46,000 we estimated for the asphalt mill and overlay, 12,000 for the concrete paving. There's also removal of the existing pavement that we have to remove out to put the concrete in. We did a little bit of allowance for sediment control around there, which may not be needed. That gave you about 61,000. Again, we left the 30% contingency on there. And we put a $2,000 engineering allowance. That's really only if the town needs us to provide the detail for the concrete pavement. It would come in under that. I just rounded up just so you, like I said, because this is budgeting purposes, I wanted to make sure you had the money there for you if you needed it.
And the reason for this was because you judged that the paving that's there now is not sufficient for trucks to go over it, even though they go over it every day or several times a week.
Yeah, when we toured the site, so there are locations of cracks along the whole length, which of the alleyway, which would be addressed by the mill and overlay. But the section that's right there by 37th Avenue has severe cracking and alligator cracking there. And as I said, it's most likely due to the trash trucks coming down and having to brake in order before they turn out to 37th, because that puts a force on the pavement. And that can lead to that cracking distress being shown there. So you could mill and overlay that, but you're going to see that come right back through. The mill or the alligator cracking is a sign of something happening further deeper into the sub base, and the pavement not handling. So if you mill and overlay that, it will just crack again like that. The cracks will come back through it. So you would have to do a full depth. You could do a full depth asphalt replacement there. Or you could also do what we're proposing is the concrete, because the concrete would have reinforcement in there and would hold up to those. If you see where you see it happening in a lot of places around where they're going in where like bus stops are, and they take out the asphalt and put a concrete pad with the back where the bus stops stop all the time at the bus stops. And that's for that same reason you see a lot of distress there from those large vehicles having to brake right there. And so they put the concrete pad there because it does resist that those forces better long-term from maintenance perspective.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there
Let me
any
ask-
other questions for Robin?
Let me ask a question, if you don't mind, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Ms. Barnhart, is CPJ to be the prime contractor in this project? Will the CPJ, according to your retainer agreement, be hiring the subcontractors? And if so, that means that there will be no preparation of an RFB or RFP in the process. And will you be recommending piecemeal contracting or one comprehensive contract? And can you tell me who typically maintains most of the storm drains in the town streets throughout? Is that the county, or is it a 50-50 thing or partial thing where some of the storm drains have not been accepted by the county?
So I'll start with the storm drain question first. I believe all the storm drain is maintained by the county, but I don't know if there's any storm drains that haven't been accepted by them. But my understanding is that they should be maintaining all those. The town owns the streets, but the county owns the storm drain, except for the storm drain that's in the state highways right away. They own that and maintain that. Then going back to your other questions, so CPJ's role right now in contract with the town of Cottage City is as the town's civil engineer. So our role would be to prepare the details in the construction drawings, obtain any permits that would be required to walk through that process. We don't have we're not a contractor, so we don't have equipment or personnel to perform the work. So the work would need to be bid out. If the town has a contractor on call, that could go to them, or it could be publicly bid out. CPJ can assist in preparing the IFB documents for that, but it would not be subcontracted through us, no.
Are you recommending 3 or 4 or 5 various piecemeal contracts for the various sub projects, or is this to be done comprehensively?
So it can be up to the town of how you want to do it. Since 3 of the sites most likely, or 2 won't need permits for sure. The one at Parkwood wouldn't need permits as long as we don't need to do a connection to the storm drain and it's just a paving operation. The only one that would be permits would be the 43rd. So that really becomes an option of the town in terms of what best works for their funding and financial situation. It could be that you bid it all out and get one contractor to do all of it, or you could piecemeal it, or you could group it like 2 and 2, whatever makes the most sense. It could also be bid out as all one, and you have each one as its own component. So with the option of deducting certain part, like any of these 4 locations, if the bids come in high. So you could say, get the total for for each of these 4 locations, and still have the option once you get the bids in, you can see how that works out with the funding available, and then deduct ones that don't fit within that budgeting, that budget amount. So there's multiple ways that could be done, and it really depends on what the town feels is their best option. And we can explore that as we get more into design for it.
Thank you, Robin.
You're welcome.
Bill Kopecki has a question about the alley between Parkwood and Bladensburg?
Yes, Mr. Kopecki?
About 10 years or so ago, the owners of some of that land, vacant land, raised the grade adjoining to the alley and put in a parking lot, pavement for parking without a permit. Does that have any effect on the alleyway you're talking about?
No, and that's actually why I'm showing the property lines on here are approximate from GIS, so they're not lined up. So I showed the hatching based off of the aerial image of where it visually looks like the alleyway would be, but it does not look like that additional pavement was put within the alleyway. So or does not tie to it. So right now I'm showing it tying out to the rest of the asphalt that's in the main parking area, just because the town would not have the rights to tie into that pavement since it's not within the alleyway.
But it would affect the grade of the alleyway to have to go or have the alleyway dug out to slope down the way it used to the parking lot.
So the grades, the fine gray lines on here are the contours for the site. So it's roughly draining from the upper left to the lower right-hand corner approximately. So putting in the alleyway, part of what the engineering services allowance for is the survey. So it's locating the property corners to locate the actual alleyway from the plat. And then it's also topoing to see what the existing grades are. And so the alleyway would go in basically mimicking current grading, except we obviously wouldn't allow it to trap water. So there maybe need to be adjustments for that if it's found, but we won't know that till we get detailed survey for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What he's talking about, though, I've seen that the new pavement that was put in by somebody, some business down there near the Bladensburg end of that alley between Parkwood and 40th. I mean, between 38th and 40th. The paving that they put in was higher than the alleyway that went down to Parkwood. And what that resulted in was flooding because the water no longer had a way to get out. So that's an issue that would need to be dealt with if we were to decide on someone to do this. They would need to understand that.
Yeah, so again, once a detailed topographic survey was shot out here, we could identify where those issues are and we could do a grading study for the alleyway to alleviate or making sure that it has a positive drainage out. So it doesn't pond.
But you did not do that survey as part of this?
No, ma'am. This is just a preliminary of scope and with estimated costs for you to budget. The budget for this alleyway for engineering was $7,000. And again, that was mostly survey. So I wasn't aware of that. So if we had to do a detailed grading study or plans for proposed grades, that would increase that sum.
Thank you, Robin. Are there any other questions or comments or discussion for Robin?
Yes, this is Commissioner Yuri. Just quickly, which streets do you think are like the most severe out of all of the ones that you mentioned?
The alleyway between 37th and 38th is a maintenance issue. Tracking there. So at some point you're going to have to do it. Just depends on when it works for you. The I would say the 43rd and the Parkwood Court, because those lead to icing issues, that does pose a safety hazard. So priority wise, I would say bump those up. But
Okay, so 43rd you mentioned, and the other street.
the Parkwood Court has the icing in front of the ADA ramp there from the drainage issue.
Okay, so mainly the streets that just have the flooding and that would cause the icing. Do you have kind of like any recommendation? Do you think that for some of these that we need to kind of like reroute some of our buses or trash trucks? Is that like something we should begin to do immediately to kind of not worsen the issue? Like, what would be your recommendation?
Oh, no, I don't think that's the issue. Again, the 43rd, I mean, the most of your pavement on the 43rd Avenue is in decent shape. The alleyway behind is starting to show some cracks there. But it's an alleyway. So I don't think you have that. You do have the one area there that is developing a pothole, which could have standing water behind the one commercial entrance over there. The alleyway between 37th and 38th, again, that's a maintenance issue that it's going to have to be addressed at some point. The longer you wait, sometimes the more it costs, but that's kind of where that goes. But I don't think it's not to the point where you can't drive the trash trucks down there to collect the trash. It's the normal wear and tear of pavement that needs to get addressed. So, being aware that you have this so you can budget for it and get it taken care of. But I don't think any of these issues are something that you have to reroute buses or trash trucks for at this time.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I have one more quick question. When you did this study, were you aware of the new sidewalk that's been put in starting at that intersection of Parkwood Court, I guess, Hamlet Park and Bunker Hill?
When I was out there, if you're able to see what's on the screen, or if you look at the report, the aerial image pretty much represented the sidewalk, I believe, was out there when I was out there. So if it's something newer than that, then no, I'm not aware of that.
Well, the sidewalk that I'm talking about is not in this picture, I don't believe. The new sidewalk goes on the right-hand side of your red line.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering what effect that would have, because it seems like possibly they dealt with some of the issues. I don't know.
Well, this issue at Parkwood at Bunker Hill is specifically dealing with the grading within the asphalt roadway. And there's a little depression right in front of the ADA ramp in the roadway pavement that cannot drain out. And so the only way water can get out of there is to evaporate out.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't think any sidewalk went through would have done anything there unless they specifically did some pavement mill and overlay there, which my guess is probably not.
Okay, I have more questions, but not to you, to the commission. Thank you.
Sure.
Robin, this is Chief. I have one question real quick.
Yes, sir.
When I met with county, when county got their ARPA funds, they had a meeting and they talked to us about they might share some expense on some of our stormwater issues. Is that something we can look into and talk to county and see if they were willing to partner with us with some of these tasks on 43rd? Because I did hear in the meeting that they are going to partner with some of the municipalities to address some of the stormwater issues.
Absolutely. We can talk to them about that.
And that should help us out with some of the payments.
Okay, so Chief, you have your hand raised. Was that for the question you just asked? Or is that somebody else has their hand raised?
No, that was me. Raising my hand for that question.
Okay, all right. I'm glad you brought that up because we definitely gonna need some help. Any other questions for Robin while she's with us?
Yeah, I had a question. This is David Proctor. The view we're seeing right now, I know that at the point there where Bunker Hill and Parkwood Street meet, there's a lot of water that pools at that drainage area as well. Will the improvements on Parkwood Court that go across, will that address that as well?
You're saying over here at Parkwood Street and Bunker Hill?
Yeah, right there where your mouse is, that drain right there, that
Uh-huh.
gets clogged. That gets clogged often, and there's like a big pool of water that gets stuck there when we have heavy rains. Often, yeah, right there. And there's
So it's an
Uh,
existing inlet there that's clogging?
yeah,
Yeah, so what this preliminary doesn't address that. If it's an existing drain that's clogging and that drain has been accepted into the county, they would need to come out and maintain that to address the clogging issue. So that would not be addressed by what is included in the preliminary estimate.
okay, thanks. I just wanted to bring it up.
Sure.
Are there any other questions, comments? All right, hearing none.
Not for Ms. Barnhart, but I guess for the commissioner, whoever. What led to the production of this analysis, and because I don't recall hearing anything about this before, and the prices seem awfully high. So I'm just wondering where this is coming from and what the thinking is about it, because I honestly don't recall. Maybe I just missed it, but I don't recall us talking about this before. I know there've been historic problems on 43rd with flooding on 43rd, but I hadn't heard about the rest of it. And the alley between 37th and 38th, that surprised me a great deal.
As I was about to say, I wanted to thank Robin for attending to give us an update on what's been going on in regards to this project. So if you remember, we did discuss 43rd Avenue and all the problems and issues that they have with the stormwater management. We also discussed not just 43rd, we discussed doing the alleyways. We've actually discussed this several times. If you don't remember, I'm sorry that you don't remember, but we have discussed it. We've discussed it multiple times. And Carol asked Robin to come to give us an update on what they've been doing and what recommendations they have to present. We have not signed anything in regards to this work, but we did retain them. And we did sign a contract with them. They are our engineering company. And Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe Greg, you remember, after we had the county, I think it was State Highway, do the work, the milling work on 43rd and Bladensburg Road. That's when we had CPJ there. We had Delegate Fennell. We had, oh God, who are those people?
I remember when we had the county there.
Yeah, we had the county and there was some other people there, and we all discussed what needed to be done. And then CPJ made some more recommendations, and we talked about tying in, doing the grant work with the ARPA money so that the residents who live on 43rd can tie into or tap into that line once they open the line to do the storm drainage. In regards to the other 3 areas, I know we talked about the alleyways. I'm not sure, Parkwood Court and Bunker Hill, that's new. I didn't know about that one. And I did not know about, I guess, what was the other, because it was 4 areas you mentioned.
Right. The reason why that came up, ma'am, and I can tell you a little bit about that, is that when we got the ARPA funds, the commission wanted to make sure that we checked the whole town, because we got these funds for stormwater, to make sure that all stormwater issues are identified. So if we do have money left over in the ARPA funds, those other phases can be put into the equation. But like I said, we didn't know it's gonna be so much, so expensive for 43rd, but we did want to make sure that everything fairly was going across and looked at in reference to stormwater issues within our town. So if it does, it was there and is identified, we have enough money in the ARPA funds, we can get that taken care of also. That's what we did in phases. So if we can't do it right now, so the first phase will be 43rd, then the other ones come into play afterwards, but that's how we did it. It was directed by the commission to do it that way.
Yeah, when we first started this project with 43rd, it became apparent to us that 43rd was not the only issue.
Right.
42nd, 41st, they're all on the slope. Like the higher part of the town in Ward 1, I guess they have flooding issues, but maybe not as bad as these streets over here in 43rd and Ward 3, I guess is where the main issue is, Ward 3 and probably Ward 2. And so when the ARPA money came in, the chief is right. Even before the ARPA money came in, we were saying, well, we need to look at the whole town, not just 43rd, because we knew that 43rd was not the only street that had issues. So I'm sorry, Commissioner Young, if you don't remember it, but we did discuss it.
Commissioner Wheatley?
Yes.
Where is this? Where is it in the budget? I guess I'm wondering that also. Because I do remember talking about 43rd. What I don't recall is talking about the alley between 37th and 38th, which I would have remembered if that had been discussed before, because that goes right behind my house.
No, ma'am. It wasn't
Commissioner-
discussed, ma'am. It wasn't discussed. What happened is we just identifying.
It was or was not discussed?
It was not. It was not discussed. We discussed
Okay, I
it
didn't
now.
think it had been.
Yeah, it was not. You're right. What we're doing right now is showing you what work needs to be done in the town to address stormwater issues. We didn't put it in our budget yet.
Okay,
This is just something that's showing you that this is some needs that need to be done eventually. It might be far down the road, it might be like 2 or 10 years down the road, but she's showing you what needs to be done and what is our priority, and then what's the extra work
Okay.
we need to do. Yes, ma'am.
and
And we did-
CPJ,
and
we have a
did-
contract with CPJ?
Excuse me?
We have a contract with CPJ?
Yes.
Yes.
Where are they? Where is that in the budget?
Under CPJ.
Under Public Works.
Under Public Works, but is titled CPJ.
It's engineering costs.
Engineering cost, yes.
Oh, okay, so it's not listed as CPJ. Okay.
May I,
Let's see.
I'm sorry.
Wait a minute before you start, Commissioner Yuri. So Chief, you said that the CPJ is pointing out, I guess, things that we need to think about in the future.
Right. So what we did was, Greg and I told her that we want to make sure we prioritize in phases. So that's why she broke it out into 4 phases. Because we know for a fact that it's going to be a price associated to each one of the phases. These other phases can be put off for a while. There are issues there, but it's not something that's going to affect us immediately. It's something that needs to be addressed, but not immediately. What needs to be addressed right now is 43rd. And we didn't think 43rd would be that costly, but we knew for a fact that there would be a price to it. So when we got the ARPA funds, we asked the commission, y'all said, make sure we go through the whole town right now, because we got money coming in from ARPA funds, and see where our issues are. We are just right now presenting the issues that we have. We're not saying you have to pay for it. We're saying these are the issues, and this is what it's going to cost to address those issues.
Okay, and you say that it's in the budget under Public Works?
Only her giving us advice. She's giving us advice right now. We have to pay for that. She did.
Well, what's the category? What's the category that it's under?
Hold on, let me pull it up real quick.
Greg, can you tell us where it's located in your budget?
The engineering cost is with CPJ's funds come out.
What's that under? What's that under in the budget that we're looking at tonight?
Engineering costs.
Can you give us the
I don't
line
see
item
it.
number?
Yes, give me 1 second.
I'll just pull up the financials for this small function. It might be in there.
It should be in there because we already budgeted for this.
It's 5286.
Engineering.
There's $5,000 that we put in the budget for the last, I want to say 3 years. For engineering.
Okay, so 5,000, okay, engineering, gotcha.
Any other questions for Robin?
Yes, may I just ask one last question? So we discussed the flooding coming out, especially on those particular streets that we discussed, 43rd and the other, with icing during the winter time. How badly would this affect like homes? Is there expected, like, are we having trouble with like backing up into sewage or like, I guess, flooding, basements or whatever the case is?
To my knowledge, I was not informed of any instances of that being occurring. What I was told was strictly for the 43rd Avenue, and that the sump pumps in a couple of homes run continuously. So if they have that much groundwater coming to them, if a sump pump fails, you could get flooding that way, or water standing in the basement that way. But I don't know of any historical instances occurring. I'm not aware of that.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, so what people need to understand, in Cottage City, we lay on a bunch of they're not like rivers, but they're these, what's the names? And
Tributaries.
thank you. And so they're in various places. There's one over by Yang's. And matter of fact, when it rains real hard, the tank floats up or something like that, he was telling me. But nevertheless, there's nothing you could do about that. That's separate. That's a totally separate issue. They got to pump that water out, and it's got to go somewhere. So at this point, I understand and I concur with the fact that, we got to get it done. So it's just about, let's not hem and haw about it. Let's get on the stick and start trying to find out where we can get the funding for it. But I appreciate all the work that you guys, the chief has done, and along with the engineering, all of it makes perfect sense. I understand where you're going with it, and it's just a matter of getting funding. And I think that's where we're all at right now. So thank you. I yield back.
Thank you, Commissioner Givens. I appreciate you saying that. All right. I don't think there's any more questions for you tonight, Robin. We appreciate you and all the hard work that you and your team have done. And we look forward to having more conversations and more discussions with you in the future. And thank you for being so patient. And I apologize for not having you speak sooner.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having us. And if there's anything that comes up, just let us know how we can help out the town. We're more than happy to.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
All right. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you so much. All right, guys, let's get back to our agenda. I know we jumped around a little bit, but let's get back to it. All right, so we had ended at Cottage City Day. The town hall rental was already discussed. Mr. Best said we do not have to take a vote on that. The city hall building improvements, we did discuss that last week at the work session. Todd discussed it tonight. He did put the additional $30,000 in the budget, so I don't think it's a need to discuss that. Preliminary design budget, we did that with CPJ. All right, so next is Juneteenth. And let's see, I asked that to be put on because I know last year it was a new holiday. President Biden he granted that holiday as a federal holiday, I believe, and it was very quick. It passed very quickly. And I believe we closed the town hall for the staff. This year, I hope we can do the same thing again. Hope you guys will be in agreement to give the staff that holiday. Also, I wanted to know if we're going to plan anything for that particular holiday. I don't know if we have enough time to put an event together, but maybe we could put something in the newsletter explaining the reason for Juneteenth and why African Americans celebrate that holiday. So that was that one. Hopefully you guys are in agreement with that. If you're not, please let me know. If you'd like to have some discussion, we can do that as well.
I'm in agreement. I think moving forward, if we're gonna add that day, we could, at the later time, we could go ahead and begin to work on a resolution to add that day to the employee handbook and as a paid holiday. But for now, I agree that we should just vote to extend, give them the day off for that particular day. Thank you.
Madam Chair, it's already in, you've already passed a resolution last year on this.
Yeah, we
Oh, okay.
passed the resolution. We did, but I don't think we put anything in the budget as far as doing any kind of celebration or event. So that's something we may want to think about in the future. But I definitely think we should put something in the newsletter at least. All right.
I agree, and I think it'd be nice to have an event if possible.
Yes, I think it would be nice to do something as well. Let's see. Commissioner Yuri, are you okay with what we've discussed in regards to that? Anything additional you'd like to say?
No, I'm in agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. All right, let's keep it moving. So budget ordinance, I've already read that. Todd already went over the proposed budget. All right, next is police vehicles, USDA grant information. Chief, is that something you're gonna take?
That's Tracy.
Oh,
The chief may chime in.
Is Tracy here?
He was.
Yes, I'm still here.
Oh, I am sorry. I apologize. We should have had you up sooner. Goodness gracious. All right. Are you ready to discuss that, Tracy?
Yeah, well, I discussed the actual grant last month for one of the police vehicles under the USDA grant. And I just attached the document explaining the grant, how we qualified. I just attached that. And then there's an actual resolution that I would like to move forward that we could pass so that I can continue my submission for this grant. And that's the second document. But this is the document that explains the details of the grant. So I didn't know if you all had any questions because I did go over that last month.
Okay. Are there any questions for Tracy? Hearing none, let me read the resolution into the record. This is resolution number, Cottage City Commission, Town of Cottage City, resolution number 2022-08. A resolution of the Commissioners of the Town of Cottage City, Maryland, agreeing to apply for financial assistance with the United States Department of Agriculture, Rural Development to finance the purchase of a new police vehicle for the Town of Cottage City Police Department. All right, so that's that resolution. There were no questions for Tracy tonight. So we just need to take a vote on passing this resolution so she can continue to apply for the grant. Is there a motion to pass resolution 2022-08?
Commissioner Givens, I'll make the motion as read.
There a second?
I second, Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Commissioners Givens and Young. Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Givens, aye.
Yuri, aye.
Young, aye.
Wheatley, aye. Armache is absent. There were no abstentions or opposed. The motion passes. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you all so much. You all have a good evening.
You too.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we have next public comments. Are there any public comments at this time? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Town manager, Carol, would you like to take the curbside recycling agreement?
Yes. Excuse me. This just to notify you that we've renewed our curbside recycling agreement with the county. It's kind of uniform. And I did it on March 25th, so that has been done. It's an intergovernmental agreement, just ensuring that we continue our curbside recycling. It would have expired on October 31st. So that's all that is. It's really not controversial or anything. Then the mosquito control program will be started again, and we will have that. They sent us a letter stating that our days to be sprayed will be on Tuesdays, with the exception of bad weather, or and they're asking people to stay, and it'll be in after sundown. So they're just alerting people to that, and I think that's something we will put in the newsletter, alerting community members about that. So it's just a couple of uniform things that just have been renewed for our community. That's all.
All right, thank you. Are there any
Just one
questions?
question.
Let me
Thank
ask,
you.
let me ask. Are there any
Are
questions?
there any questions? Yes,
Go ahead. Go
the
ahead, Commissioner.
recycling, I mean, Bates still picks up our recycling, right? Or
Yeah,
am I missing
yeah,
something?
but we still have to have an agreement with the county.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Chief, would you like to give your police report?
Yeah, real quick. If you can, you go over, I attached my report to the town, so the town residents can look at it. But one thing I want to talk about in my report is the complaints to be receiving on the weekends in reference to loud music coming from Brentwood. We have got in contact with chief over in Brentwood, as well as some of the officers, and we identified one of the houses that were playing the loud music, and we sent a letter over to that house, as well as we put it on the chief's radar over there, that this house has been doing a lot of loud music playing. We also identified a couple of businesses on the side where the garden is that have been renting out their space illegally to, I guess, parties and other events that are going past the normal noise ordinance hours and playing loud music. So what we're going to try to do is work with Brentwood to actually address these issues, so it won't be a problem during the summertime. We also have some concerns that I spoke to the town manager about in reference to some streets over in Brentwood that are in bad need of code enforcement, that we want to see if we can sit down with their town manager and a code officer and probably the chief to talk about these things, because if we don't address these things right now, the way it is on Brentwood, so close to the railroad tracks, those activities is going to start sliding over to our side, and we want to address it now before it starts coming over to our side of the train tracks. And that's all I'll pretty much have that's pretty much pressing that I want to discuss with the commission and inform you.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the chief?
Thank you for taking care of the noise issue. That has made a difference so far, so thanks a lot.
No problem. And
A lot of people appreciate that.
No problem. We will keep on top of it. And like I said, there's some other issues over there that, I noticed when I went over there that I didn't know was that bad, that we will have to sit down with Brentwood and see if we can work with them to take care of that.
All right. moving on, Ward 1, would you like to report anything to the town?
Just a couple of things quickly. I did meet with Greg and Anthony yesterday about Greg mainly about the sidewalks. One thing that the people didn't didn't do perfectly, which is causing a drainage issue in another area where there's a drainage problem where water pools in one part of the sidewalk on 37th. And in talking with Greg, he's going to try to arrange to have those things fixed. And I understand that we're going to have our speed hump on Parkwood at 37th Place put in. Greg, I forgot to ask you about the issue about the lighting we had talked about at one point. We don't need to take any time on that at this point, but that was one thing that had come up earlier. And then finally, on the thing that was presented by CPJ, I'm glad that the chief that you confirmed that I had not heard anything about the thing, the alley between 37th and 38th. Maybe I'm just out in left field somewhere, but the thought of spending $80-some thousand on the alley, that alley, just sort of blew me away. I don't see that that's a necessity, and obviously it's not the priority. I think the priority would be 43rd, the places where there is flooding, 43rd, and then the area there on Bunker Hill by Parkwood, and also the alley where there is flooding, the alley between 38th and 40th, and between Parkwood and Bladensburg. There is flooding there. But just speaking for Ward 1, I think that doesn't need to be very high up on the list of necessities, especially at a cost of over $80,000 just to redo our alley. I walk down that alley almost every day, and I just don't see the problems that they're talking about. So it maybe you can understand why I was a little surprised at some of that. Anyway, apart from all that, Ward 1 is doing fine. Thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Armache is not here to report for Ward 2. I don't really have anything to report for Ward 3. I am glad to see that CPJ is working on 43rd and coming up with some ideas on how we can fix the issues over there, because that's been an ongoing problem for many years. And you're right, Commissioner Young, we didn't specifically say 37th and 38th alley, but we did say that we should look at the alleyways. But no, we didn't say specifically which alley, but we just said look at the alleys. So I guess your alley in your ward was included in the look. I don't have anything else. I do want to say thank you to everyone who came out and voted during the election last week. I appreciate those who did take the time to vote. Although it was an uncontested election, I still appreciate those who took the time, because voting is very important. Other than that, I don't have anything to report out. Oh, I would like to say that our trip to the Sandy Spring Black Slave Museum and Art Gallery was very well attended. Commissioner Young, myself, and Commissioner Uri, we all went along with several of our residents. We had 2 vans and I believe 3 carloads or 3 vehicles. So we had a very good turnout. Everyone enjoyed themselves. I want to thank the chief. I want to thank Officer Marino for providing or bringing us our lunches. And I want to thank Mr. Hill for driving. I also want to thank our staff, Brittany and Carol and everyone who helped out with that trip. And it was just a great time. And I look forward to maybe doing more trips and hoping that we can continue this because it was very educational and very fun.
And
And
also,
thanks to the chief.
also Miss Shirley, I mean, Miss Shirley, it was her idea. And like I said, I was overwhelmed. I thought it was great history right there. So thank you, Miss Shirley. I think she has heard your suggestion. I think it was wonderful.
It was
yes,
great.
yes.
Thank you all.
Yes, Miss Shirley did a lot. She made all the calls and made the connections. I actually was the one who suggested it and I gave her the contact, but that's fine. I do appreciate Miss Shirley because she's a big help. She helps us out in so many ways. All right, especially with our Black History events. Ward 4, Commissioner Givens, do you have anything you want to report out?
Yes, so there's a couple of things I sent you all. The sidewalks, Greg asked me to look at the sidewalk after it had been paved over on right in front of the townhouses. I went over, took a look at it, and you definitely have a safety issue there of concern. A couple of options. I did present the commission through text just the pictures of what could go there simply fast and for the price of around under $1,000. Also, so the town manager went out and looked at it along with Public Works and had an idea. Perhaps we should consider doing iron, steel, which would be much stronger, of course, and probably longer lasting. We hadn't got any pricing on that yet, so that's something she's going to work on. The commission should not dilly-dally around on this. Once we get the pricing in place, make a decision, one or the other, but let's get it done, because every day that goes by, if someone comes off that curb and twists their ankle, it's going to be our fault. And because we've already identified it, we know it's there, and we need to kind of move on it. So I'll move on from that and wait until Miss Carol and Public Works gets additional pricing for the possible metalwork so the commission can make a choice. In regards to a couple of things, I'm ready to go ahead and do the planting again. The beautification out on Bladensburg Road. I'm thinking it's probably going to be about $300. I think last year it was like $250 or something, but I'm just anticipating the rise in cost of everything. So it shouldn't be that much because we kind of do somewhat of the same simple, not same simple, but some of the same ideas. So I like to consider that. One of the other things I'd like to consider is if Miss Richardson could share her screen about some of the actually, you know what? She doesn't have to share her screen.
I'm already sharing it.
Oh, are you? Okay. So some of we need to, we talked about putting an additional bench, bus bench at the location in front of Yang's some years ago. We hadn't done it for, kind of get lost in the sauce and stuff like that. And it's time to kind of revisit that. Now we're at a position where we can't find that same bench. I looked and they no longer, of course, models and stuff has changed. So if we consider putting a bench there, which I think we should, you're looking at around $200 for the bench itself or less, of course, concrete or, of how we attach it to the ground or whatever. So the question will become, do we change both of them, and then reinstall that bench somewhere else, or do we just have a different type of bench? So I'd like perhaps to have those benches just emailed to everyone, and then they could kind of tell me what your first, second, and third choice is, and then we could kind of take it from there. I actually like the welcome one, but that's just because it says welcome on it. That's not anything particular. There's some nicer ones there too with flowers or whatever on it. So just keep in your email. If Ms. Richardson would do that, email everyone. I'd appreciate that.
Sure.
Commissioner Givens?
Go ahead, Greg.
I have a bench.
Oh, you do? The same one?
We purchased the bench. We just need to install it.
It's the same ones we had there before?
Yep.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, great. Then we got a second bench then. Okay, then let's scratch that. Let's just talk about giving authorization to Public Works to install the bench at the location. And I would only add to maybe perhaps like we did the other bench, put 2 flower pots, 1 on each side, just for decorative purposes, for it to look nice, for some type of uniform look, which would probably, those pots are $30-$40 or something like that. And I would say the whole project with the concrete, the attachment, would be less than $150, which would be well within Ms. Carroll's budget. But the authorization to install the benches is really what we need from the commission, if they're okay with that. Is there any comment on that while I look for my next comment?
It's fine with me.
Anne, on Danielle?
Fine with me.
Me as well.
Okay, all right, thank you, appreciate that. Moving on real quick, the last thing on my conversation was about, I think that is it. I think that was it.
Towers?
Huh?
What about, did you have your meeting with the towers yet?
Oh, yeah. So thank you. I appreciate it. So the meeting with the tower came out to be very informative. So a lot of what's going on when they had talked about switching to Section 8 it's because that's how they were able to attain additional funding. So it will not change the design and makeup of the apartments. So if there are 1-bedroom apartments, there's only 1 2-bedroom apartment in the whole building. So so the building is 95% occupied. I think she said 98, but I think it's like there's a couple people moved out and those people are going to have the right to come right back. So really the caveat is they've been complaining for the last few years, over the years, about the building needing renovations, and they kind of tried to figure out a way to kind of get it done. So they were very thoughtful in how they were able to gather this funding and through different programs, and they're just going to move people out by the floor. So they're going to move the whole, by various floors. They're going to relocate them. It has nothing to do with Cottage City, and then they're going to replant them back here in the community. So it will not be, and there are going to be some additional upgrades. They're going to do some stuff, a gym, a little, workout area, some terrace opportunities for the residents to kind of sit out, all on their property. So it's nice. It's nothing that's going to be over alarming, that's going to impact the negatively on our to our police departments and our administrative. They won't have it shouldn't have no impact on how we continue to operate. So they're going to continue. They're going to have additional meetings after that and keep us informed. But they're right now, it's just kind of an internal thing and seeing how. What needs are met for each of the residents. So I don't think but I am glad to have attended, and thank you, Ms. Carroll, for attending at such last minute. I really appreciate that. And I think the only other thing that they had a concern about, I kind of mentioned some things, the programs that we have in place that we're working on, is that some people complain that they were not getting the newsletter. But that's really unlikely on our end. That's the whole post office thing is a mess. So the solution, I think, was to Miss Richardson was to just ask her once they print out the newsletters and they start to mail them out, and if they could drop off a number of newsletters and just leave them in the lobby, and then they can take them at their pleasure, at their leisure. I wouldn't recommend doing that as soon as you mail them out, because then it may already be coming in their mailbox. So wait a few days. So that give them time to get there, because I don't want them to say, well, you ran out, and then they get them again in a newsletter, in their news box, but in a mailbox. But I think that was pretty much it. Yeah, I'm excited about us utilizing this our gazebos. I'm hoping that we'll get some participation. I'd like for that to kind of be re-entered into the newsletter to let residents know what the requirements are, and that feel free to come up there and socialize, have lunch or whatever, unless it's being utilized from a permitted standpoint. So whatever the regulations are, if we could just replace that in a newsletter. And I think that is it. That's all I have. And yeah. So if anybody has any questions for me, I can take them now, or you can call me later, and I'm happy to answer.
Demetrius, thank you. The gazebos are great. On the towers, are, are the people who currently live there assured that they will all still have places there
Yes.
after
Yeah.
whatever work they do?
Yes, they're under guidelines through HUD to move those people back into the same. Now
Good.
they type of apartment into the same one bed. They left as a 1-bedroom, they bring them back as a 1-bedroom. You know what I'm saying? If they left as an efficiency, they have to bring them back as an efficiency. If they want to upgrade to a 1-bedroom, they have to get on the list, but they have to come back in there back as an efficiency. So it's really, they're all guaranteed a spot back unless they decide they don't want to come back and they want to relocate to another property. That is their option. But yeah, they are guaranteed under the rules of HUD and how they operate because they have
Good.
guidelines.
Good, thank you.
Did anyone else have any questions I could answer for them? Or if I'm missing anything, Ms. Carol?
Yeah, I got a question. I think this might have came up during the meeting. For those who use the van from the towers, if they're relocated to another area, do you know if housing is going to provide transportation for them to get to their appointments?
Yeah, so what they're doing is they're sitting down with each individual and working with them on a case-by-case basis and working out whatever their needs are and addressing their needs from a social standpoint. So that's something they did. A lot of people continue to ask that question, and you had to kind of reinforce that. Yes, we are individually working with each individual person, having a meeting with them and ascertaining what are your needs, what are your appointment needs, what are your food needs, and your routines and so on and so forth. So they are dealing and addressing those things specifically. Good question.
Okay, great. Glad to hear that. Thank you. All right, let's move on. Commissioner Yuri, would you like to report?
No report for me, thank you.
All right, I'll open the floor one more time for public comments if there are any. If not, I think we're ready to adjourn. Hearing no public comments, is there a motion to adjourn at 9:58 p.m.?
Just one real quick before we adjourn. I just wanted Miss Carol hasn't not been here. So when we talk about the planting aspect of it, what I typically do is I come up, utilize a credit card and stay within a $300 budget that I have identified to the commission. And I buy the plants and and the dirt and everything. And I go ahead and do the install. And Public Works, now that I'm loving to see Mr. Michael drive a vehicle, and hopefully that'll continue, then he can water the plants every day, unless it rains. You clock in, you water the plants. So, but other than that, I think I'm ready to adjourn. I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Y'all don't want to go home?
I'll second. All in favor to adjourn, please say aye.
Givens, aye. Good night, folks.
Yuri,
Aye.
Wheatley, aye.
Good night, everybody.
Motion passes.
Take
We're
care.
adjourned. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Right.